Hello, the week is over. At least the week for precious metals like silver and gold, stock market, stuff like that. Cryptos keep trading. In this video, I'm going to go through as many charts that I can and as fast as I can. In the more information box, there will be a time list to show what's available and what time each market will start at. Of course, like always, all bets, trades, and other like within each's own risk and their own reward. So then, we'll get started now with silver being the first one. Price action coming down to about 1740, and I did a video earlier today, much longer, and I did state that it should come to 1740, maybe pierce below. And the big things from this decline have been these two failed moves. Both this one and this one, which has broken the support, and that's why it's down to a new leg lower as failed move, fast move down. On the long-term monthly chart, still attempting to revert the trend for the second time after it wasn't able to do so in 2016 at a nice higher low, with the potential for a completion of this inverted cup and handle on the more very long term. So far holding this level nicely, and really it's the first attempt breaking the 18 average of highs on this point of view. Switching over to the gold market, which had this inverted head and shoulders pattern with a break of the neckline, which was a little higher than where the Fibonacci 1321 came in. These fibs usually pierce extra, and again with the case being so far with the 1522. Price action just a little below this handle now. If there's going to be a full decent support or big correction through price, I'll be looking for 1321 and this 18 average as the out level for support and really the must hold area for this move not to be a failed one. Of course, the move being the break of the neckline and Fibonacci. Within the daily, after all of these nice higher lows, price action falling below the band in the 18 lows, having this day in here, a previous one yesterday, where it had a price come up to this Fibonacci and now, of course, now leaving and lowering this 18. This pattern of the last few periods where it proceeded really does state we probably should come and test this previous resistance level near 1432. And then we switch this up to the quarterly chart. Something interesting that I see with this chart, other than the fact that the normalcy, and this is big in itself, after this high you have this correctionary move. Well, we're seeing excitation amongst the newly rising 18 average. That's a very strong setup, and usually when you get to this move in here, oh, you could easily break this for the big move, which I think is going to happen. I'll tell you why in a few seconds. But you might have a little bit of consolidation going through price, maybe come back even down to the neckline that I talk about in here. It might go here, and then break. These connect in many different ways on the bullish front. But what I find very interesting when we look at this going back to way back when, this low, this high, but that's the big one here, is oftentimes markets will come back to where they came from. So if you're going to have point key low, key high, key low, key high, you expect key low to be somewhere in here. And if I put a horizontal ray near that high, oh no, it was nowhere near there. And if I see that, that tells you sellers not so aggressive to bring it down. At that point, buyers becoming aggressive at the higher price than normal. And oftentimes the spots like that, if you fail to come back to where you came from in this and you do break this key high, don't be surprised if it has a very good move there after that. The gold to silver ratio closing this weekend at about 85 and 2/5, and on its very long-term time frame, still hanging up in this upper end of this range in here as it was the resistance from the early 1990s. All of these lower lows in here, now all of these higher highs in here. And until it breaks, yeah, you can have a decent move above here. I've talked a lot of reasons, of course, fundamentally speaking. I do highly anticipate not only is it going to come down to this level, but even test down towards here. Of course, that's where I'm playing it. But as far as technical is concerned, you're holding this resistance, or this uptrend line. You got all of these resistance points. If it breaks it, what does it usually do? And the answer is usually has a good leg higher. And it becomes really interesting amongst the daily. As we had the high of 94, and the immaculate 8 consecutive days, about a 0.5% or more in each one, and then a very good correctionary phase. But when it gets to the 18 average of highs, it gets up here, corrects some more, is unable to even really get out of the band on the upside, but it did after 3 days flirting with the low. Well, it started the next epic move. As it was several days, a much higher rate of descent, which was a good one from before, but not by much of a greater rate. I don't know higher or lower how to say it, but higher is in higher volatility. Well, from this bottom, now we're seeing three big green candle days, with today being one of them, as the ratio is up 3%. Of course, a lot of it is because of the silver losses. And okay, so from the low, we have correctionary phase in here. Well, this is now one day that it's managed to get above the 18 average of highs, but it did so very aggressively to very good conviction. Coming close, and maybe as we move into the next week, moving to this level of previous resistance. Okay, now what situation? Well, higher volatility right now, and I'd like to see it continue. Yeah, I guess if you want, either way. But that's something you can also see within is the volatility scales when these things move a wacky wild. Because some of the things that can happen is maybe you have a fast move in here and then a wild move back in here. Stock markets have had a lot of that lately too. Well, but those are the things. But is this a big reversal? Do we come back and correct in here? That's the thing. Stage one, band flattening out. Stage two, establish a level of resistance. Stage three, come back to the band. Stage four, break it, reversal trend. But these things go wild. Okay, I'm waiting for it to come back and correct. Oh, it just keeps going up. That's a possibility. And when stuff like that happens in any kind of market, and I'm not saying it will, and I don't even think that it will, but it could, then it's going to have a wild correction when its route is complete. And that's what we're even seeing from these wild moves, the wild corrections, because, yeah, we got key high, low, high, low, and whatever this high happens to be in here. But regardless of if it, it can come up here, and we're still talking about major high, major low. It's, I guess another way of me saying this is we could be in wild, wild situations if this does happen to be a lower high. There's a possibility this thing works and finds a sideways correction. But regardless of the fact, I know now it's definitely going to take a little bit of time before I see some settling in here and just have standard moves, sort of like a lot of these rally moves were in the past. So another way of saying this, big volatility should be expected as we move into October. And Palladium shows an interesting setup here on the daily term. Key high, key high, key high. Well, let's hit 3 times, same spot. A multiple hit within this area of support. Multiple hit, but nowhere near as much as before amongst here, which is more of the resistance area from this range spanning this time frame. So you come back to previous high, make the higher low, get back to previous high. How much did you spend for time in here? This much. Here, I got about this much in it. Well, I had an okay amount of time on it, but what are the situations that can occur? Maybe it does some more of this. It's got to build a range because it's only had a decent gain. So whatever high or low, that's possible sideways action. This thing can go out and have big gains anytime soon because the more often you hit resistance and when you break those key levels of resistance, you'd have to expect a decent size gains coming there after the fact if that's going to come into play. If you have a move like this and it doesn't really break and you actually start to fail in these levels, then that isn't pretty. Oftentimes you're probably even going to test some of this there after the fact. But the probability odds do look that it's got a good chance, I think, of having to move up here rather than breaking anywhere, I think, below that. And that's just my opinion and calculated, I would say as well. But given no calculations were actually made, technically it is not calculated because I didn't do any calculations via any calculator or in my head. But what I do see here is that level of resistance, which was resisted in this area in here as well. But regardless of the fact, it's gotten above it and it's... Okay, 3 little bears. I talk about this many times in charting. When you have a big key level breakout of resistance, breakdown of support, I expect it to have more times than not to have a small move. I want it to be just right. If it's too big, well, that just gets wild. So I don't expect that a break of resistance in here is going to top here. I'd expect it to go a little bit higher at least. At least test in the low 2000s. Like probably just even looking at this from this form, 2223 would be a realistic target. Now let's look at it further. Just looking at the last few periods, and I'll just clean some of this up and fix the screen. So, and we're above this line. Okay, so what have we done since? And it's only been a few periods we have to look at. Okay, we hit this high. 3 periods going down, one good red, one okay red, and one sideways to the 18 lows. A very good period giving close to 100%, but not quite, of its retracement to this high. But how these 2 weeks play out, it's phenomenal because this week gets to it and just pauses it a little bit, stays in the area. We can see there's a price correction in this period that gets to here, brings it back, and this week it did that. This is or month rather. This is a very bullish setup as it plays. So I do like Palladium moving forward based on that for a good leg higher. At least again to 22.23. Platinum on the daily is in at 947 above both of these levels of resistance that it encountered last year in the autumn and earlier in the spring. And a very phenomenal move. So it's having its first correctionary play as it's gotten down to the 18 average of highs, showing the last few days consolidating, staying above this, but hasn't had any decent rally up to this level. Doesn't mean it won't. And it actually looks like it's attempting and probably will do it. But it also tells you, oh, the market itself for platinum. Oh, I'm screaming, I want to go higher. Okay, good, do your thing, you platinum. And if you're doing your thing, you're going to see it go higher. You're going to see it go to 960, 970, 980. That's how it would play out. But if this level fails, $928 and low change. Ooh, baby, it's going down fast to 880. It's just an easy to read setup how I'm looking at this right now. Amongst the weekly, we can see that the target area for where it would come down to is somewhere in here. And right now, it's just congesting in this previous range in here. So the further upside we should see, the upside targets would be this upper area. We're looking not quite 1200, but it should get on a breakout here up to this resistance. Well, this high technically it matches these three levels here. And maybe it'll continue further, but if it goes to like say 9,000 or high 900s, that's just in the same area we're already at. But breaking in that even decently further, I would expect this to go noticeably over 1,000 up to high 1100s as its next key level. And when we see it on the monthly, if it's able to get up to one of these higher type of levels, well, then the next level of resistance would be in this type of range. So we're talking 14, 18, and then previous high at 22. But as we play in here, we can see with the band flattening out, it's now doing step number 2, which is establishing a level of resistance. Right now it's doing so at about 1,000. 18 average starting to rise. So this is the start of a new attempt to revert trend. The last time it did it, we'd seen it here. Well, it's sort of like silver, exactly the same. Yes, it technically hit a new low, but no, it's a matching low. So we're still trying to do this. Yeah, it's pretty much the exact sort of same situation. The Dow Jones average closed this week at 27,219, and it did so near previous highs. And a lot of these choppy price corrections have been going on, not just even since here, but when we look at other time frames, this has been going on for a few years now, or a couple of years or so anyway. We'll see. But this high, this low, and just volatile moving down. Big, stable price correction. You have like 4 bars or 4 days up. So a line and a this is what that happened. Line up and then correct in a range going higher. So you straight up move. This was the range. So that was that play. And then what happened there? Straight down and then this consolidation. And what's happened? Well, we've had this so far. That's where we stand. It leaves us at a previous level for where we were. It's both bullish and bearish to go down. Excuse me, it's both, yeah, bullish and bearish to go down. Because if we're going to break resistance here, I can see many scenarios how it happens. One, it comes down to where it came from. One, it just hangs in there doing this. And if it just breaks it, we might see something like this, where you maybe have like a good straight up move, and then maybe you correct this way, maybe you correct this way, or maybe it tops. But regardless of the fact, I would expect some sort of good type of several set of days, 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, that would have a very good rate of ascent breaking a resistance level like that. And the weekly even clarifies it even more so, because you have this level of resistance, which is so epic, because before it was just a break of this resistance, a little bit of consolidating where above it, where it came from, huge move, sideways, huge move, correctionary move, and then the straight up, decent rate of ascent, higher rate of ascent to do this. Really two decent rates in this, but from the top, you can look at this like an inverted head and shoulders, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. But regardless of the fact, it's retest resistance, retest resistance, retesting it a little bit above, higher low it to this, and now it's looking to beat it. So breaking above this level, it already broke it here, and it's just been, oh, well, what's taking so long to break it? Have a big move. A little bit of a little bit of this action. That just shows you how choppy these up and down moves are. You can see in here. We can see them in here. It's been that way really again since the start of 2018. So for about almost 2 years, it's been like that. And on the 3 month, it hasn't even lost any of its trend, or the quarterly, as a small move to the 18 lows on the October quarter of last year. But the green moves and how this is following is, to me, a bullish setup for another leg higher. And this is what the Dow looks like before any of us watching this video were born. Bitcoin as at 7:02 p.m. Eastern Time, or 1900 hours, priced in at 10,287. And at this point, you want to say, oh, is Bitcoin in early adoption? Well, I got the monthly chart, and this is all I got. And I know I could get a bit more, but well, in October it was of 2011, it was $3 and a quarter. And then about a couple of years later, it was about $1,000. Little volatile, and you can delete the word, or you can replace little with a different adjective or different one to express the size of something. Maybe different than little. And then it moved down to 179, up to 20,000, down to 3,000, and here we sit at $10,287. As far as technical analysis goes, just looking at a few candles, which is something I like to do. Oh, what did the last 2, 5, 10, 20 look like? Well, from here, after the big high and this great run up, we had this higher low, and price action did not come back to where it came from. In situations like this, if I see you have key high, key low, key high, and the next key low to be noticeably above this, and then you break previous high, watch out for a very good leg higher. But just as this goes in here, though, as far as short term, and as I'm seeing, okay, where does direction look for probability odds, trying to find some sort of edge here? Well, we had this little failed breakdown in here after falling below the support. Because if it was resistance, it would have went up somewhere around here and then it went down. Instead, it went up a little bit further and it's done this. Oh, that's a bullish sign. So this gives us good probability odds that it's going to go to this line, and probability odds state even further. If it goes to this line, it's probably going to break it. And as I just stated before, if it breaks it, it'll probably have a kick-ass move. Weekly is doing all its correctionary thing within the 18, yada yada yada. Just wait for it to leave. Yeah, we can see some support here, resistance there. And as I've been saying on this channel for quite some time, within this daily, basically, as long as it's in this range, there really isn't much to really go over unless you want to talk about what it's doing in that range. Because we have this support, we have this resistance, and well, most of the time it's been in the lower end, but that doesn't mean it's going to break it there. Because how do you know it's not going to continue this range and then just change it up on the opposite end? Maybe we do something like this for a while. And then we spend some time near the highs and the second half of this. The story can go in so many different directions that It's always important to adjust to the message of the market when you are unable to see, okay, well, what's going, all these different things, and things change to how you expect it. Because even if you think it's going to go one direction, it'll be similar to it, but definitely not in that exact area. As we see in the last few periods in here, we've established this level of resistance from this low to this high, unable to break above it, but we've had this correctionary test come to the lows, but it's already made a statement from the lows to the highs. So it's stating that it wants to get up back up to here. If it fails, I'm not too confident it would break. I mean, I don't know what to think. If it comes back here, to me, it's still just in the sideways range from here. This is like going over stuff within the more grander sideways range, but the obvious stuff breaking this level, well, we're just a little above where the lowest area is. So, well, there's only one level of support after that. That's the lowest level within the range after, down towards the highly low 9,000s. Highly low 9,000s means like 91, 92, 93. Bitcoin dominance calculated by TradingView is in at 72 and almost 2/5 or 72.38. And a lot of these higher highs, higher lows, as far as where we're going from on the more recent term, there's a lot of correctionary move or time that occurred within this range. This price action, or I guess I don't know if I should use price action, and this it's a little more tricky maybe to look at. You might not want to use the same sort of principles as much to a degree, but you kind of do in the sense of, well, this 18 average, I want to see the 18 average fail for me to see reversal of trend. But every time it's tried to show me that is, well, in here it supported it, but it didn't do anything else, so it didn't even try to break it down. Every time it went to the lowest area where it needs to start to break down, which is a breakdown below the 18 lows, it never went lower because the 18 lows was always pretty much support. Pretty much the case in here for the last little while as well. It broke through it here. Okay, so great. Okay, great. We established support. That's a first stage. But now you have to have a significant leg lower after that. And of course, support was never broken. Not even close here. I mean, these decent price corrections didn't even get to the lows. Nice try. Okay, here, a big move because you have two down days and then you establish this support. Oh, retested here? Nope. Retested in here? Nope. A lot of opportunities to try here. But it never even did break the neckline. And of course, that was the first test, of course, from when the last bottom occurred. In short term, well, we have this move high, this move low, so we're just correcting within this phase. If any of this stuff in here fails, always this is a key level. If you break that, oh, where would it be? Well, this key level matches up. Well, this here already matches up with this resistance, so we'll do the lower end of this range. Somewhere in between here, I would say, would be the next key leg lower. If it breaks it, of course, breaking above this resistance, then you're talking about making it to previous high and breaking previous high, while new legs lower that we'd be seeing on the daily, or that would be shown on the daily. Dash, right now it's at $91.55. And you don't see too much on the weekly chart here. This is the Palladium chart. So for longer term, I'm going to show it. I'm going to talk later on in this video, you can see in the more information box to when, about Binance and really how popular them and other exchanges are. And it's not even close. And early on, you had some early exchange issues. I mean, this type of stuff here is when you hardly have much volume at all. And somebody here just selling a whole bunch at one time and there's only so little bit on the order book for it to happen. But price action had a low. And here at about $8.25, it had a high over 1,000, came back down to 60, back up to 175. Now it's in the middle of this range at 90, so this is simple. And you could use whatever math to try to get levels, but I'm just going to go through the basics of it. You break this resistance, at least somewhere up here. It's not going to be small. You should at least go up here. How much further and go, who knows? These things, when I talk about too small, just right, or too big, oftentimes they get too big. It just seems that the too smalls don't usually happen. There's just a good chance if it breaks it, it's going to be at least to about 300 and change, 350. If it breaks down the support, same sort of deal. Maybe somewhere like around here. So if we break around 60, maybe we head like 35 or 28 or something in that area. And until it doesn't do that, it's just going to stay within the range of 180 and that of 55 on the downside. Now I've switched it over to Binance, which on the weekly is, well, it's around the same price, but now I can actually see better moves for short term because apparently this is on Coinbase Pro. I don't know much about Coinbase Pro. For me, when I started with cryptocurrency in 2017, I didn't have that much in value. But I had Coinbase. I looked at like a bank, like that's where your more normal holdings are, and you can move, and then you can just send them to exchanges and stuff. And then I thought, well, why do I use that? Why not use a Trezor wallet? And there's so many other hardware wallets that I like that I don't think I could ever. I don't think I'll ever use Coinbase again. So I don't really know much about how they work and how their market trades and stuff like that. This was interesting. I talked about this yesterday at 15:01 how you had this move, but since the fact playing within this 18 average as it did, huge move higher, and I mean real big, from 3 o'clock in the morning up to 9 o'clock in the morning today. And then what happens after the fact? Well, it's live right now. This is huge. How this is looking because, ooh, okay. Yeah, what's it doing? Yeah, it's exiting the 18 average in here. This is a strong setup right now. Very, very strong. On the 15-minute time frame, and the volatility here doesn't look as good, so I'm going to have to change this for even shorter term against Bitcoin. So let me change it now, and you get pretty much around the same similar kind of look. But there we can see the excitation happening like right now after it's done very well within the 18 highs here. And if you're really trying to get the good price, or we just read how the story's going to go, now this gets easy again. Okay, so this line here where we have the red, and I'm just going to put it here because the price, like I see in the dip there, is probably just going to move. So this general area, which we can originally state goes up to here. And then we can put another line in because we haven't tested that again. That just tells you breaking this resistance, that's going to be probably a level. But we can see that this level was hit twice almost in here. And now it's pierced above it. But what's happened is after from this low, all of this beautiful action here doing what it did, showing strength at the 18 highs and really grinding its way higher. Having one huge green candle up to previous resistance, that first line in here. And then continuing further with two okay size moves, but now we're having this correctionary move. And if you're looking to, you see it going higher, okay, I got to get it. I got to buy Dash now. This is looking too good. Well, it's a little cheaper now. It's like, okay, deal or no deal kind of deal. Okay, well, you got the lower prices. If it's a failed breakout, this is going to be interesting because if you have a move like this, do this, and it ultimately fails. And that's why it's going to be so easy. We're ultimately, over the next several hours, going to experience price explosions on either side. Because if we see failure amongst this area here, eek, yeah, we could have some decent moves. But as the setup has been showing on these longer term time frames, this really looks like it's going to get going. And that the odds that we have support between 88.70 and this little area, all this entire shaded area, to me is very, very strong. The Cosmos coin, or otherwise known as Atom, which is in at 3,032. Well, I got myself an alert at this resistance here number for a reason here because that's where I think it's going. And we had this level of resistance here. It's best to show this probably on the 3 or 8 hour time frame. I would look at the 3 because I only care about from this low. Because you have this amazing hour here where the volatility was just scorching. A low of 22, a high of 28, which is a differential of 670 basis points, which is a microscopic amount higher of microscopically a little bit more than 33.33%. How do I know that? Because 10% is 220. I multiply that by 3, that's 660, and add 2200, that's 2860, and that number is just about 10, 11 points higher than that. So it's like 33.39% approximate volatility. But it came back, it congested within well above. This is what's cool about this, because from this candle, everything that followed it up to the breakout on the 5 o'clock hour here, or about 7 or so periods, it had very good consolidation with volatility within it. And I say within it because It resisted well below this high, and it's supported here at about 2400, which, well, that was well below, well above rather, even this level of resistance here. So that was pretty cool in that sense. Oh, we're going to break it to one side, fast move when it gets it. Okay, well, key level. Note it resists key level. Okay, okay, that's good. Are we going to continue the trend? Well, ultimately, this is a failed breakdown. Because whenever you have a situation where you have a good run like this, then you go down below and you have some sort of like sustained, like even one leg lower, really, from the 18. And then you have your correctionary phase like this, your first resistance test. And ultimately, it doesn't resist. It fails. It doesn't succeed on the downside, so it succeeds on the up. Several periods like this, then the breakout here at 8 o'clock. And then this type of ascending stuff in here. And how it's playing out, well, obviously breaking down below, we can see here that there's some short-term support at 29.31. And we're already establishing long-term resistance between 30.79. We can see so many periods in here. And of course the big ones between 31.75 and 3200. If it gets above that, then that's a spectacular move. And I'm going to be thinking it's going to pierce above this line. Now I have a line here to let me know that it's there because I'm going to want to sell some nice coins a little more aggressively at about like 34.50, 34.40 ballpark area. Theta right now at a price of 1,019. And within it, we have a lot, just big volatility. We haven't had anything for huge price movements. We only had two. Well, since here, and then again in here. So one on November 30th, and one from mid-January, concluding at least to a top area in early March. And I put this line in here, which represented the support from all of this. And then you had this. So within this, you have your short-term, your small volatility of up and down movements. And we support it again here, resist it, and now it's congesting within this area. Again, this makes it easy. We've had a lot of support in here, which again is just doing this congestion, and it's trying to still support this. Because of the amount of support it's had and how it's played within the 18, if it breaks it, I'd be looking for something substantial. But for me to really see on this, it's not fair that I use a chart like this, which currently doesn't have a proper log scale. I can fix that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this by 100 million, which will just change these numbers. There'll be a lot of numbers with 8 decimals that will all be 0. So in turn, I can look at this and think, okay, well, if it's going to break, and it's two levels of some that I'm looking at. One, it's really just this here, because this support is really matching this. So where would we see a key leg lower? I would think probably somewhere at least around here. So I'd be looking around 700, low 700s, high 600s, maybe 750, 760. That would be what I would expect. And as it's playing out, we're seeing it struggling right now within the 18 lows on the weekly over the last 3-4 periods. So it's definitely vulnerable for a higher percentage odds situation that something like this occurs, where you just might see a red candle. If something like that happens for me, I mean, I don't mind something like this, because I'll just be probably, I definitely will be accumulating more on the way down, of course, selling on the way up. On the daily chart, it's showing a lot of weakness right now amongst the 18 lows. So you can see in here. So this level represents, okay, so on the way, I would expect this area here to be the next layer of where support that you would be recognized within this time frame. So the ultimate breakdown number, I really got to see it go down below 900. And then doing that, if I see it showing weakness, seeing price stay in the high 800s for a while, testing like 840, 850-ish kind of action, then yeah, I'm going to think it's going to go down, so even noticeable more there after that. But as it goes, there's two things I really need, I think is always important, especially for me as a trader. One, these things will reverse. It's just oftentimes when they attempt it, it fails. But not every time. attempts to break out here, or reverse trend, it fails. And then we have this attempt here, and then this was a good setup. It never did get above this established resistance, but that attempt failed. Then we have this attempt to break out, and right now that attempt has failed. So oftentimes they'll do that. Of course, not every time. And then you're going to have situations where they succeed, and then you get your pattern of higher highs and higher lows. So in here, let's just take a look at what it was like before. In here was your breakout attempt here. That one succeeded for monster gains. And then the second type of big moves is just it happens instantly. Because when you look back at the fact in here, at this stage, there was nothing bullish about this. This was just attempting to correct within this. But if you're selling here, oh, it's breaking down, I got to sell, and oh, I'm not buying here, it doesn't look like anything's going to happen. And in order to sell this, you had to sell at the November 30th key top, or like 2, 3 in the morning, from 1 to 3, or have your orders in, and then it just worked out. Bitcoin Cash against Bitcoin in at 0.0289. And on the daily, it's just meh, 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 just hanging in there. Because it was higher, obviously. And then we've had since the bottom this. So it's just like Bitcoin. Yeah, it's in the sideways range. So until it breaks it one way or another, okay, just go choppiness. Support's at about the 26 handle, resistance is at about 33 and change. And now it's at 28.9. Pretty much near the middle. And since this, and even since the more previous high and low in here, we haven't seen it really touch it even much. I mean, it resisted this and close to here. It came down here, but that was a pierce above this. And even then, since this low, it hasn't spent much time in this area here, as it's just in here. So it's must have been a lot of congesting amongst this area. So there's only way to look at it is, yeah, let's look at the hourly. Maybe you can get something on here for short-term stuff. And what we're getting here is, okay, downtrend, bottom. Okay, this is a decent sized move. So we established a level of resistance. It's back to the band. And this spot here, 18 starting to rise. If it gets above here, yeah, maybe we can fill some of this. And if we fail within this 18, then we'll come down here, most likely break it, and then test at least somewhere around here. And on its entirety chart, or the 3-day term, originally we had a lot of this support. Right there was, and then the lowest end would have been this level of support. And after the consolidation in here, it had one last failed breakout before it had a major move. So point A high, point B low. Since then, it's been in full retracement mode, meaning it hasn't been able to break this high or break this support. And just so obvious, until it does, it doesn't. Until it does, it will be in this range, so the price will have to be between 0.02 and 0.09, which is decent volatility within it, but as it goes, it manages to get to this resistance level, but only corrects within the 18, and its fall move, it doesn't really break down, thus successfully correcting its move from here to here. And then after successfully correcting, it has a successful higher high to this. But it doesn't successfully correct it here. Thus, after breaking this, a tremendous move because it doesn't even get to previous low. Rather, it breaks it, congests in here, and is just going on. So therefore, if we end up breaking down below this and maybe go to point, it's again, significant leg lower, break above this resistance, we'll probably talk about coming back to this congestion area here between 47 and 64, and really even up to this line at 71. And when you have wild moves, especially with Bitcoin Cash, I've seen it so much within it when it goes up, and I know I put a lot of drawing tools, and I can just remove it anyway. But in particular, the ones I've seen it happen a lot, they can go up fast. There was this one, You got this one, and that's the thing. This thing is just breaking down. It's like, and that's what you see with any type of thing. If it's going way up or way down, they'll tell you to do what it's doing. Meaning, way up you got to buy, way down you got to sell. Oh, this is breaking down. You got to sell. Oh, okay. If you sold here and then this happens, well then that happened. But all the moves, and this is just meh kind of whatever moves. But there's a good move here, great move here, great moves. Well, this is early in the stages, but when these markets go up, you just know they can go up fast. And whenever it's ready, if it does it, it wouldn't surprise me if just that happens. And what I'm reading is it's not far off now until U.S. customers can begin going back onto Binance's Binance US plans to begin onboarding customers next week. This is posted September the 12th. The largest exchange in volume is making U.S. debut next week. Binance.us said today that the platform will open registration and deposits on September the 18th. According to a company blog posting, the launch will initiate a rollout of multiple Binance products according to the US, across the U.S., not according, across. After registration, 6 cryptocurrencies will be available for deposits, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and the Tether. Trading will commence later at an undisclosed date. Based out of San Francisco, Binance.us was announced earlier this year. Residing officially in Malta, Binance has physical locations in Jersey, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Uganda. Binance banned United States customers earlier this summer following regulatory uncertainty. A partnership with BAM Trading Services was announced just prior to the U.S. suspension. The new exchange will not offer services in New York due to a BIT license regulatory requirement. As of August, Binance has not yet applied for the license. Binance.us did not immediately respond to a request for the comment, and the CEO. Anyway, that's that article. And earlier today, I looked at a chart similar to this, and I'm trying to find it. I can. I closed it, or I'm trying to get it, but Binance is destroying the trading volume game. This is an old article. This is over 1 year old. But then the volume for Binance was 15%, with the others showing as it does. This is an interesting one. It's a little older. But what I'll do for this is I'll leave a link for this in the more information box and finish off with what I wanted to talk about as the basics to Binance basically reopening doors to U.S. citizens. The coins that they'd be allowing, especially the ones that I mentioned, like the Ripple, Litecoins, Bitcoins, Bitcoin Cash, and the such, they should be doing well as we move into the next week. As well, especially when the moment they can put coins into there, that it's just gonna bring more people in, and when they can start trading it, even more so. How they'll be able to buy it, well, this will maybe I get more people to trade markets. Maybe they want to trade and they go, now I can go on Binance again. And there's a lot of people who also would have been in the game, sold for Bitcoin and Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash, stuck it somewhere, one of their wallets. And then once all these other coins come in the future, and they will be coming soon, then those coins will be going up one by one when they're available. As they're like, oh, I can get back in this coin, let's buy it, and those prices will just drive its way higher. Yes, I wish I would have seen it, but just in the search, this is basically what I found, and this is it looks like an interesting read. I haven't really went over it because I didn't plan it in this video, and I was planning on going an average of like a minute and a half or so per minute and a quarter even per market. I was nowhere near that. But I like how I did this, and I'm gonna have to manually do this because what I did to, I wrote all this, but I forgot. Oh, but I did this. I don't know when I started Bitcoin. I'm just have to do this myself, but I'm just gonna copy and paste this. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 markets in 40 minutes. Actually, there's silver here. 13 markets. That was about 3 minutes per per index. So not bad. Thank you for watching. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.